My 365 Podcasts with me, Pete Cohen. Welcome to another My 365 podcast. Before we start, please head over to My 365 and find out how you can take advantage of being coached for 365 days. Now, in today's podcast, I want to talk to you about optimism. Now, optimism, what does it mean? Well, you can ask Siri. Hey Siri, what does optimism mean?
Optimism means hopefulness and confidence about the future or the success of something.
Okay, thank you very much. So, hopefulness and confidence about the future or the success of something. Well, Siri, you're a very intelligent person. So let me ask you, my friends, as far as your future is concerned, are you optimistic about it? You see, as a coach, as someone who's studied psychology, someone who's written 17 books on behavior, who's helped people from all different walks of life, it's one of the biggest challenges we will ever face in our life is to be optimistic about the future, about who we are and where we're going. And even more challenging when we live in a world that is changing so fast and there's so much uncertainty. So if you say to someone, are you optimistic about your job opportunities in the future? Well, most people, if they were being really honest, and often people don't really want to address this, you say, well, no, because the world is changing. I was reading, coming back on the airplane yesterday, that in 2033, it is quite likely that most of us won't have jobs, that robots will be doing anything. You know, you might want to know this, but might not want to know this, but I'll tell you anyway. Who's heard of Uber? Uber are the fastest growing company in history. And who's just bought 20% of Uber? Google. What have Google developed? Well, Google have been involved in the technology for driverless cars. So who knows where the future is going to be? We could all be very pessimistic about the future, or we could be optimistic. My challenge to you is to understand why you would want to be optimistic. You see, when you are an optimistic person, you are looking to the future and thinking about how you can create a better future than what it is that you have today. Pessimism is like a dungeon of negativity, and it is very, very easy to get caught up in a world where you're focusing on what's wrong, what's missing, and what you haven't got. Now, I know how difficult it can be to be optimistic. When my wife was really sick many years ago, I must admit I found it really, really hard. But, I had to do it. I had to be optimistic. I had to believe that the future was going to be better than what it was now, even though she was given 18 months to live. And touch wood, 5 years on, she's alive and well. But one of our dear friends who also had a brain tumor, who unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago, one of my dearest friends, Ian Phillips, who I will never, ever, ever forget. But Ian was so optimistic. He battled this disease for many years, but he was almost like, I'm going to beat it. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And it's very easy to be pessimistic. You see, it's almost within our DNA because, thousands of years ago for our survival, we were being hunted. Today it's most of the time it's us doing the hunting. But back then we had animals, our lives were in danger. So we needed to be on our guard. We needed to be able to have the fight or flight response so that we could act in the best way in any given moment. The challenge right now is that most of us live in that flight, fight, response mode. In fact, we're caught in the middle. Our phone goes off. Oh, the phone's gone off. Or the doorbell's rang. Or something's happened. And we often, at any moment, could become very, very pessimistic. And my challenge to all of you, look, I want to create more of an optimistic world where there are people who feel good about who they are and where they are going, regardless of where they actually go. Because listen, in life, from my experience, you don't get what you want. You get what you picture. So if you were going to be optimistic, it's because you can see the future, even though it hasn't happened yet. And it's a bizarre concept for people to get their head around, which is, you mean, if I think about the future, I could actually have it? Well, look around you at all of the things that people have come up with, ideas, inventions. That once upon a time was an idea in someone's head. And they could see it so clearly that they manifested what they saw. I would really encourage you to spend some time and think about what it is that you're picturing. So let me give you something, because on My 365, often we listen to other people. We hear about their success. We learn from them. We take something from their story to make the story of our life better. But if you were going to you were sitting in the cinema and you were watching the film of your life, and you were seeing, okay, well, how much time has this person spent being optimistic, and how much of their time have they been negative, worried, anxious, whatever? If you were observing that, and let's be really honest here, what would you see? Well, for most people, you'd see that they haven't spent as much time being happy, being excited, being optimistic about the future. More worried about the past, worrying about what people think about them. And it's so easy to be like everyone else. And if you want to be like everyone else, that's fine. But if you want more, you got to break free. You got to break free from the tyranny that you have inside your head. You see, optimism is what sunshine is to vegetation, what it is to plants. It allows it to grow. And it's not something in many cultures that we're really encouraged to do. Often when you see someone saying, you know what, I'm in control, I'm going to do this, we often think that we're trying to pull them down. But then it takes someone like Muhammad Ali, who's sadly not here anymore, to go, I am the greatest, for people to buy into that. But we often buy into it because we would like the idea of doing it for ourselves. So what if for the next day, the next week, the next month, you really, really worked on becoming more optimistic? That you challenged yourself. Look, if you wanted bigger muscles, you don't join the gym and just expect it to happen. You got to go to work. And what optimism really means is you've got to go to work on what you're feeding your brain. Stop feeding your brain with negativity. Stop watching the news. Stop watching soap operas. Stop watching horror films. What we often don't understand is when we take this information in, we digest it over time. I remember watching many years ago, I used to be into watching zombie films. I don't know why, but I would go to bed and then I would dream about zombie films. Imagine getting a child to do that and the imprints that you would put into that child's head. Now, I asked you to imagine watching a film of your life up until this point. Now, many of you remember maybe going to the cinema in the old days and there was a projector in the back that would project the image up onto the screen. That is like your brain. You have the capabilities of doing exactly the same thing. When we think about things, if I said, hey, what does your front room look like? You make a picture of it. Hey, remember that holiday that you went on? Do you remember it? You make a picture of it. That's how our brains work. If I said, hey, where do you want to be tonight? Chances are maybe you know what you're doing tonight. If I said, hey, what are you doing next week? What's your next holiday? Again, chances are you start to conjure up images. If I said to you, hey, where do you want to be in 5 years? You ask most people that question. Is that, well, I don't know. Well, all I know is I don't really want to be here. I want more, but I don't know what that is. I don't want to be here. Often for most people who don't take the time to be optimistic and plan for the future and create a compelling image of where they want to go, all they end up being is in exactly the same place as they are today, but often 5 years older, 5 years a bit more overweight, a bit more unhappy, rather than understanding this. So listen, let me give you an image here. I've given you an image of the projector in your head. Start to really think about, even draw where you want your life to go. If this feels silly to you, then it's probably a good sign that you need to do it. You know, success doesn't happen by accident. Optimism doesn't happen by chance. It happens by constant and never-ending improvement. That's what Tony Robbins talks about, one of the most well-known performance coaches, personal development gurus in the world. Constant and never-ending improvement. You see, if you don't do this, you'll just be a victim to circumstances. I believe you can either be an optimist or a pessimist. Does that make sense? It really is your choice, and doesn't matter for how many years maybe you have been thinking in a certain way. You can always change. And listen, whenever you do something that you don't normally do, your brain will often try and protect you. Even people around you will try and protect you. You go, what are you being so optimistic about? Rather than just recognizing, look, the first 10 times you do anything you don't normally do, most of the times it's really uncomfortable, unbearable. Then it becomes uncomfortable. Then you become unstoppable. Are you prepared to become unstoppable? Are you prepared to do what is necessary to tap into that better part of yourself. You see, you can be over-optimistic. You see, I'm also asking you to be practical. Let me give you an example. I was at the airport yesterday and the flight was delayed. It didn't look good. I was with 3 other people and I said, I think we should be prepared for the worst. And someone said, what about the law of attraction? I said, what about it? He said, well, let's all kind of think positively. I said, hang on a second. I can prepare for the worst case scenario. I can be prepared that tomorrow, that we don't go home until tomorrow. I'm prepared for that. I'm optimistic enough to think about what could happen. Could I deal with that worst case scenario? Yes. What's the best case scenario? What I'm preparing to do is preparing myself for obstacles. You can be, hey, the future is going to be amazing. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, freak out, man. Whoa. I don't mean necessarily to do an American accent, but you can be really, really overly optimistic rather than being optimistic with a sense of, I say realism because that's not a great word because all of our realisms are different. And as Einstein said, reality doesn't exist in the outside world. Reality exists with what you're doing inside your head. So it's all very well picturing where you want to go, but this is where we really encourage you to use a tool called WOOP, W-O-O-P. What do you wish for? What's the outcome? What's the obstacles? Prepare yourself for the obstacles that are coming. Because if there's anything in your life that you want to achieve, let's say in 5 years' time, obstacles are coming. It's like going in a boat. Imagine going in a boat. You don't really know where you want to go. You don't want to be here, but you don't really know where you want to go. You go in a boat. You're on the sea. What's going to happen? Well, the weather might be quite nice, but guess what? It's going to rain. The tides are going to change. There's going to be other boats. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be really challenging. Good luck. Now, on the other hand, if you get in that boat and you know where you're going and you want to go there because it's important to you, you can picture it. You know there's going to be obstacles along the way. But if you think like that, when those obstacles come, because you want to go so much to where it is that you want to go, nothing is going to stand in your way. We live in a world where it's so easy to give up. Guys, don't give up on your dreams. You can achieve anything when you put your mind to it, when you become more optimistic. That's what the world needs. Every single day on Facebook at 7 a.m. in the UK, Monday to Friday, we coach people all over the world for them to be a better version of themselves. It's time to show up. It's time to show the world that you mean business. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on my 365 podcasts. You guys are great, and thank you so much for all of you that have been listening to our podcasts. Please share them, make comments. Let's change the world one person at a time. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please take a few moments to write a comment and share it. Let's get this information out there to as many people as possible. Stories really do change lives. So please, write some comments, share it, and let's change the world. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and if you want more free inspiration to optimize your life so you can achieve your goals in all the different areas of your life, then visit my365.me. That's mi365.me and sign up to 365 days of free coaching with me, Pete Cohen. Thanks for listening and have an awesome day.